Greetings everyone out there. Welcome back to my channel, Metro Echo Media. I really appreciate the new subscribers and those of you who have been sticking by my side. For those of you who haven't subscribed, I would appreciate it if you press the subscribe button and hit the notification bell so you'll know when I upload new content. With that being said, today I'm going to talk about Captain Ibrahim Traoré of Burkina Faso. Very important man to a lot of people. I just now found out about him in 2024, but I'm hearing that he took on the presidency in 2022. I would hear about this brother vaguely because, you know, unfortunately, the Africans on the continent and the Africans in the diaspora, you know, like the Caribbeans and the, you know, South America and North America, there's a division between the Africans on the continent and the Africans in the diaspora, you know, and I believe this by design to keep us divided, because I feel like if we come together, we'll take back what's rightfully ours. And this man, this president, Ibrahim Traoré, is the embodiment of that revolution. You know, he's the embodiment. He is the face of that, you know, and that's I never thought personally that I would live to see a day that I would see a brother like him step up to the plate and denounce the colonizers, denounce the oppressors, denounce the powers that be. You know, that just really, I'm telling you, it really does something to my heart to see a fearless lion of a man, fearless warrior, step up and look these people in their face and tell them, no, I don't need nothing from you. I don't want nothing from you. Matter of fact, give me my land back. Give me my ancestors' land back. Give me my ancestors' gold back. Give me my ancestors' oil back. No, I don't want I don't want to speak your language. I don't want to name continue to name your streets after, you know, your peoples, you know. Matter of fact, just go home. You know, matter of fact, just pack your stuff and go home, get out of my country. That right there, you got to give flowers to this man. We need to protect President Ibrahim. We need to really protect him because they've already tried to assassinate him 18 times and they're not finished. Every black leader in history ends up being assassinated. We got to make sure it don't happen to him. You know what I'm saying? They keep trying to scare us by taking out our leaders. Even if you show the little potential of being a leader as a black man in this world, you're a target. So we have to protect this brother. You know, I have a series of clips that I'm going to run across with you guys. Let's create a conversation. Let me know what you think. Let me know how you feel about powerful leader. I really think that other leaders on the African continent need to not necessarily follow him, but follow his example. You know, I'm not saying make him the whole king of Africa, but because there's many kings in Africa, right? But I am saying these kings need to come together and sit at a table and come up with a solid plan, a solid design to take back what's rightfully theirs, right? And stick together and keep the foreigners out of, because you can't, you know, keep the foreigners out. You can't go to their country and set up shop. You can't go to China and set up shop. You can't come to America and set up shop without getting, you know, railroaded some type of way. You can't go to these other people's countries and, you know, just like take over and take their natural resources and take their stuff. And so why are we letting them do that to the brothers and sisters on the continent? You know, it's just time to change that narrative. So I support Ibrahim and what he's doing 100%. You know, all African Americans is not, you know, cooning, basically. No, you know, we're not doing that, you know. Unfortunately, there are some here that I call it being a comfortable slave. You know, a lot of these people, a lot of these African Americans here are comfortable slaves. They're scared to travel to the continent. They're scared to speak on black issues. You know, because they, you know, they have had 400 to 500 years of fear beat into their soul, into their spirit. You know what I mean? So now we carry that. A lot of us carry that fear. I'm talking about African Americans. A lot of us carry that fear that's been passed on genetically from generation to generation. You know, we have a lot of stuff that we need to work on, you know, and I feel like we need to go back to where we once were, and like the concept of the Sankofa bird, right? Go back and fetch that which is yours and bring it back, you know, and bring it forth into the present and make use of it, you know. And we need to reach back. We need to connect with our African family, our cousins, our African family, you know, and create some dialogue, create some type of organization to where we can all sit at the table and talk about how we can help each other benefit and grow generational wealth. So you let me know what you think. Let's create a conversation.
This is why America wants to arrest Ibrahim Traoré. A dark conspiracy grips Burkina Faso, where shadows of power collide. The U.S. government, veiled in lies, accuses Traoré of seizing the nation's gold for his own protection.
Traoré and Burkina Faso, their gold reserves, all those proceeds are just in exchange to protect the junta regime.
Chilling fabrication. Who truly claims this gold? Across the ocean, France fuels treachery, bankrolling marches to topple Traoré's bold vision of a thriving, defiant Burkina Faso. Having survived over 18 assassination attempts, Traoré stands as a lone sentinel, unyielding against a global plot.
So do you see what I mean when I say that some African Americans are happy being comfortable slaves? That man right there is a prime example. And it's embarrassing, you know what I mean? You know, he knows nothing about who he is. He wears a foreign military outfit. He wears the oppressor's military outfit. He even the way he talks, the tone of his voice and everything just sounds like, you know, a white man in a black man's body. That's basically what he is, you know what I'm saying? And for him to try to say he's the president, Ibrahim, is some type of regime, yet this man is part of the Trump regime. Trump is the dictator here. Yet he has the nerves to try to act as if President Ibrahim is like some type of dictator. This man, you know, Ibrahim is building free houses for his people, you know, the agriculture, the jobs and opportunities and things that this man is creating for his people. And I just don't get why people are hating on someone who only wants to take care of his people and give his people opportunity and benefits and things of that nature that they very well deserve. Like, I do get it. I know why they're trying to stop him. Because, and it's not even a conspiracy. If you really look at it and you pay attention to what's going on in the world, it is a campaign to keep melanated people of African descent, you know, African Americans, people in the continent of Africa. It's a design that was created to keep us down so they can benefit off of all the things that we create. And President Ibrahim is everything that they fear in a black man. He's the epitome of what they don't want us to become. So they get one of us to speak against us. They've been doing that for a while now. They use us against us. You know, they pay one of us to kill another one of us. I'm hearing that there are some residents or some citizens of Burkina Faso in France protesting, right? Why are you in France doing it? Is that a coincidence? You know, he kicked France out, and now there's some sellouts in France protesting Brother Ibrahim. You know, pay attention, family, to what's going on, because, you know, this is going to affect all of us. This is, you know, something we should all be concerned about. We cannot let them harm President Ibrahim. We can't sit back in the comforts of our own home and expect it not to one day reach our doorstep. If we don't do something now, it'll come back on us later. So I'm just ashamed of that brother, you know, to sit there with his oppressors and bring Brother Ibrahim's name up like that. You know, it's really a shame, you know, that they try to destroy us from the inside. That's how they got rid of that's how they did the Black Panthers. They infiltrate. They want to infiltrate your movement. They want to infiltrate your organization and tear you down inside and out. I came across this TikTok video that this young lady did some pretty solid research about France. Check this video out and let me know what you think on the other side.
So Burkina Faso didn't just fall apart. It was systematically destabilized, and it's being kept that way. After independence in 1960, the French never really left. They control the money, they control the trade, they back puppet leaders, and anytime a nationalist rose up, they crushed him. In 1987, Thomas Sankara, the revolutionary who tried to make Burkina Faso self-reliant, was assassinated, backed by France, backed by Western interests. After that, it was handed back to the usual corrupt elites, and the country has been drained of its resources, used for its gold, for its cotton, for its cheap labour. In exchange, the people got poverty, repression, the entire Sahel region flooded with weapons, especially after the NATO invasion in 2011. When Libya collapsed, militants with arms flooded straight into Burkina Faso, Mali, Niger. Western powers knew this would happen. They used it to justify counter-terrorism interventions. Another excuse to send troops into the region. Does this not give you a clue? Look, Financial Times, August. Burkina Faso nationalises 2 gold mines. Suddenly, 30th of fuck's sake. BBC, 27th of August. Nationalises gold mines. 29th of August, UK government statement, civilian massacres and media suspensions. This is not internal chaos, this is externally controlled chaos. Terror groups don't appear from nowhere. They thrive when the state is weak, and the powers external are keeping it weak, because the cycle of coups and militias and jihadists and poverty is not accidental. It is how control is being exercised without calling it colonization. Now that Burkina Faso is finally saying no to France, the narrative is suddenly changing. Suddenly it's unstable. Suddenly it's human rights abuse. Ibrahim Traoré took power in 2022 through a coup with popular support and pushed out French troops. He's been trying to cut ties with the West and nationalise gold production to keep the wealth in his country. They partnered with Russia deliberately for survival, not out of ideology. The Western media is ramping it up, calling him an authoritarian dictator and dangerous. Western intelligence is watching him closely, stirring instability, planting stories, quietly trying to isolate him with regional allies. Because he threatens old power systems, French colonial extraction, Western military bases where they shouldn't be, control over the gold of Africa. The West doesn't give a shite whether there's human rights abuse in Burkina Faso. It prefers them actually. They divide and conquer, chaos continues. It fears the order that might come without them.
Now, check that out. You know, she really was honest. I really appreciate her honesty and her research and the effort that she put into pulling that information up. You know, they don't like when their own people tell the truth. You know, they like to silence those type of people. I'm not going to stick around too much longer, so I have one more video for you coming from the man himself, the captain, the king, the president. Check this one out, and I'll get with you on the video next, coming up.
If you want to break with these imperialist forces, it's simple. We denounce the agreements. Everything starts from there. I think the example of Chad in any case is tangible. They started by denouncing the agreements. Otherwise, if we don't denounce the agreements, just saying that the bases leave, we haven't done anything. Because the problem lies in the colonial agreements, the defenses that have been signed since independence. The most dangerous is not the one you see in the bases. The most dangerous are the military advisors. Military advisors exist in all these countries. They existed in Burkina as well until the end of 2022, until we took responsibility. And who are these military advisors? They are the ones who are supposed to implement France's policy here. They must work to make our armies very weak so that France can always have the argument to exist here. Under their influence, they had succeeded. Our sentinels were therefore standing guard with sticks. That's what France wants from our armies. When we reach this stage, we have no choice but to want them to come and settle. But the Burkinabe army managed to get rid of the military advisors. Unfortunately, I think that in 2019, after Operation Otapono, where the French saw that the Burkinabe army still had the capacity to respond to terrorists, they called the chiefs of staff in France. They instructed him to reintegrate the military advisors throughout the structure. Well, they did not agree. But upon returning to the country, the politicians instructed him to accept the military advisors. And that's when the military advisors returned to the Burkinabe army in 2019. With all the consequences we know, the army was on the verge of disappearing in the years 2020, 2021. And indeed, this is the time when many soldiers had to desert because there was no longer any hope. We were in the process of collapsing. That's a bit how they work at the General Staff headquarters. In all army headquarters, in the schools, they are the ones who are supposed to dictate the policy of our army. They are the ones who tell us when to recruit, how to recruit, and what to do with them. They are in the schools to tell us how to train them, and so on. As long as these military advisors are there, you are not independent. Your army will just have the appearance of an army that is there to perform parades, a circus. But when war comes, you will realize that a parade is one thing, but war is another thing. You have to break the agreements. It's the only way to have an independent army and build strength. But many people do not understand this, perhaps. And even with these agreements, France selects from our states officer cadets to go and train them. It's through these same agreements. But in reality, these officers who go to train, for the most part for France, they come to serve the French state in their country. They do not come to serve our countries. They train them so that they come to serve the interests of the French state. I can provide evidence of this. When we revolted, many officers in Burkina who were trained in France were immediately contacted to tell them that it was time to take action because you were trained for this, to serve France's interests. Most of these officers reported back to us. We took note and we continued to monitor. When an officer trained in France returns to his country and unfortunately dies, either by accident or on the battlefield. In France, there is a night of tribute to the fallen in the army, as there is everywhere else. During the night of tribute to the fallen, the name of the officer in question is mentioned, and it is said, died for France. They do not train him to serve his country, they train him to serve their state. And in many African states, there are plenty of such officers.
And with that, I leave you with peace, love, light, and I'll see you on the next video. I'm out.